What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Kensei Sensei, and in this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to say something is easy to do or hard to do in Japanese. Let's get right in. So to put things very simply, in the Japanese language, you can use kantan and muzukashii. Kantan means easy, and muzukashii is difficult. These two are na adjectives, and we can use them in sentences to describe difficulty. So let's take a look at an example sentence. 昨日のテストは難しかった. In this sentence, we are describing the test by using the adjective 難しい. 昨日のテストは, which is yesterday's test. And what about yesterday's test? It was hard. 難しかった. Let's take a look at another example. このゲームは簡単すぎる. In this sentence, we are describing the game using the adjective 簡単, which is easy. And by adding すぎる to 簡単, this sentence means this game is too easy. So to summarize, we are expressing the difficulty of a noun, for example, a game or a test, using an adjective, which is either 簡単 or 難しい. Now you may be thinking, このレッスンは簡単すぎる. But hold your horses, it's not the end of the lesson yet. Now we're going to be talking about describing difficulty with verbs. When you want to say it is easy or hard to do something, or it is hard to do an action specifically, we have to go through conjugation. So in order to do this, we have to take the verb stem and add either にくい or 安い. にくい is basically whenever we want to say it is hard to do something, or it is hard to do that action. Whereas 安い is it is easy to do something, or it is easy to do that action. So to conjugate this, we must take the verb stem. We've done many conjugations on my channel, but to summarize, we must conjugate it to its must form. And instead of adding must, we add にくい or 安い. So examples could be 飲む. The stem of 飲む is 飲み, and then we add 安い or にくい. So it turns into 飲みにくい or 飲みやすい, which means it is easy to drink. Now let's look at an example sentence. このコップは持ちにくい. This sentence means the cup is hard to hold. And as you can see, we have modified the verb 持つ, which is to hold, and we're saying it is hard to hold. So it turns into 持ちにくい. このコップは持ちにくい. Let's look at another example. 先生の話し方はわかりやすいです. In this sentence, we're modifying the verb わかる, which is to understand. And we're saying it is easy to understand. So it becomes わかりやすい. And what is easy to understand? 先生の話し方, which is the teacher's way of speaking. So we're saying the teacher's way of speaking is easy to understand. Now, an alternative version of にくい is づらい. The difference between づらい and にくい is that づらい is a more subjective or a more emotional version of にくい. So づらい is usually used when we're describing that something is hard mentally or socially or emotionally rather than physically. So an example sentence would be 彼に別れを告げるのは言いづらかった. This sentence means it was hard to say goodbye to him. And as you can see in this sentence, we're talking about how it is hard emotionally to say goodbye. So as a result, にくい and 安い feels more neutral and physical, whereas づらい involves more emotion, and we're saying that it is hard emotionally. Now, one thing to note is that づらい comes from つらい. つらい in Japanese means painful emotionally. It is actually an adjective. So that is an easy way to memorize づらい. Now, once you've conjugated your verbs to にくい or 安い or づらい, now we treat them as e-adjectives, and we can further conjugate these verbs. So for example, if we take 食べやすい, which means it is easy to eat, we can conjugate this to its past tense form by treating it as an e-adjective. 食べやすい turns into 食べやすかった, which is it was easy to eat. It's in its past tense form. So let's take a look at another example. 説明しにくい means it is hard to explain. So how about it became hard to explain? Now I want you to recall なる. I've explained なる in a previous lesson, so if you don't know how to use なる, make sure to check out that lesson. Again, we treat 説明しにくい as an e-adjective, and we conjugate this to its なる form. And also, it is in its past tense. So 説明しにくい turns into 説明しにくくなった. So as you can see, there are many ways to express difficulty in Japanese. If you are simply saying that a noun is difficult, for example, a test is difficult to do, you can use the adjective 簡単 or 難しい. Whereas if we're saying that it is hard to do something or it is hard to do an action, we use にくい or づらい. And if we're saying it is easy to do that action, then we're using 安い. But that's the end of this lesson. In the next lesson, I'm going to be talking about causative and passive verbs in Japanese. So if you don't want to miss out on that lesson, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. And if you want to participate in an English to Japanese language exchange Discord server, make sure to check out the link below. But until next time, mata ne!